Hello everyone, my name is Bill Bross and I'm a developer here at Vieth Consulting, and today we're going to be looking at a training on the MMS Membership Billing System. Now we've got our training association up right now, which is what you're viewing on the screen, and the first thing we're going to do is go to the member billing section, the main page. That's under the member database section at the top here, and it's the middle link right here on top. If we click here, this takes us right into the member billing system. Now the member billing system, while it may seem complex, you can really break it down into about 4 different functions that it does. The first thing it does is you can run reports on all of your data, your member data, your payment data, all of that stuff. Next, you can create invoice records and payments right down in here. The next thing you can do is you can batch print or you can send emails to your members with their membership billing info. And then finally, you can get a data export of all of your member billing data. So we're going to look at these one at a time here and go through them very in depth so you can see all the different functions that you're able to do with the billing system. Now the first thing I'd like to look at is entering invoice records and payments right here. This is by far the most common thing that you'll do with the member billing system. And we'll go through how to create each of these one at a time here. It's important to note that in order for a member to pay an invoice and to renew their membership, they must have an invoice created first. So you absolutely must create an invoice record for them before they can go ahead and pay it. Now there's a couple ways to do that. You can enter a single invoice record. This allows you to renew one person at a time. So if you want to renew just a single person, not batch renew everyone at once, this is the way you can do that. Now if we click on this here, this takes us to another screen that has a list of all of your members, what their current expiration date is, what their member type is, and when they joined your organization. In order to renew somebody, all you have to do is click on the renew link right here. So if I click on this one here, this one actually will not work. It will tell me that the effective date of the new invoice will be more than 90 days ahead. Now, this is an option that we can set up in the MMS configuration for you. This basically just prevents you from creating invoices too far ahead of time. It's sort of a stopgap measure that we can use to prevent that. But if this was in the 90 days, it would renew this person just fine, and they would be able to pay their invoice right away. So that's renewing one person at a time. Very easy. All you do is click the renew plan or the renew link, and it's all done for you. Now, that one is not as common to use. The most common one by far is this one, create renewal invoice records by date. And we've got a link right here for it and another link right up here at the top because it's that important. They both do the same thing, but it's a very, very important thing that you do. Like I said before, this will allow you to renew all of your members at one time, or everyone who is eligible for a renewal at one time. Now, this will be different depending on how your organization runs their billing. If you run your billing on a yearly basis, so everyone renews at the same exact time no matter when they joined. So if your renewal period is, say from January 1st to December 31st of every year, so everyone is due at the same time, you would only have to come into the billing system once per year and run between your yearly dates, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. If your members renew the month that they join, so say I joined in June of last year, my membership would be up in June of this year, and it would be variable for every person based on when they joined. If that's the case for your organization, you would need to do that every single month. You would come in here and generate these invoices for the next month. So really, it depends on how your organization's data is set up, but we can work with both of them. Now let's pretend that this organization is set up for a yearly basis, so everyone renews at the same time. And we'll say that that date is going to be on December 31st. Let's say that's the last date that people can renew. And the new date, the effective invoice date, is January 1st. What we would do is we would choose our dates right here when we would run the invoices. Usually I like to do kind of a 2-month span just to catch anybody if there's any weirdness, but really you just need to get the expiration date in here. So if we put 12/01/2013 and 01/01/2014, this will capture anybody, or I'm sorry, we'll do the 31st instead just to make sure we get an extra month. This will capture anybody whose membership expires between December of that year and January of the next one. So between that 2-month period, if anyone's membership expires, this will create a new invoice for them. So we'll click Submit here and see what happens. So we have quite a few right here that would be renewed under this case. So in order to create the renewal invoice, all you have to do is create this button. Now I'm going to run into the same problem I had before, that this is more than 90 days, and you can see that here. Each person, it will run through and tell it, we'll try to do it for each person, but it's going to say the effective date of the new invoice will be more than 90 days ahead. So that tells me that this one is already up to date and I don't actually have to create these. This is actually a very nice feature because it prevents you from double creating invoices or creating invoices too far in the future, and it will let you know if you're going to do that. However, if these were valid invoices and they were supposed to be created, it would automatically create them right now for me. So that's creating the renewal invoice records. Like I said, if your members are variable so that they have to renew the month that they joined, you will come in and do this once per month, and you would just run it for the new month that you're in. So if I was to come in on July 1st, I would run that date between July 1st and July 31st, and it will capture anybody whose membership will expire in July. If your members are yearly, so everybody renews at the same exact time, you just come in here once per year and create those invoice records. I usually suggest to people to do it about a month or two ahead of time, as long as you're not within or outside that 90-day threshold. And again, we can change that 90-day threshold to something higher if you'd like to create invoices more in advance of the time. So those are creating the renewal records right now, or the renewal invoices. Now, we also have the ability where you can create non-dues invoices. Non-dues invoices refer to invoices for anything other than membership dues or event registration or things like that. So if you want to charge people for extra things and create invoices for them, this is the way you can do it. And that's the third option right here, enter non-dues invoice record. So if we click on that, the first thing that we have to do is search for a member that we're going to apply this to. So you have to apply this directly to a member. So we'll just search for Vieth. I'm sure there's something in there. So we've got quite a few people here. So we'll pick this first one right here. Now, what this tells the system is that I want to create a non-dues invoice record for this person. The statement and date is going to be today whenever I create it, and the due date by default is going to be a month ahead of time. Now, we can change these as well, and I'll show you that in just a moment. What you would need to do is to create this, you would need to pick an item. So what exactly you're going to charge them for. You can either select items that you've already added to the list, and this is where you can edit the items right here. Or if you want to do something that's not in the list already, you can add an item from not in the list. So we'll just add an item from the list to make it easy. So we'll say they want a t-shirt, and we're going to build them for that. We would say add item from list, and it adds it right into here. If I wanted to add something else, like say the newsletter ad, I can put that here, and I can add that right in here as well. I know that a lot of our clients use this to sell sponsorships or even to sell ads like this one here. Or to sell some merchandise, although we do have the online store for that as well. But this is just another way that you can create invoices for your members for different things that your organization may charge for. All right, so let's say that I've got these ones and I'm okay with having these two items on the invoice. I'll click Continue after this, and it will show me and will give me the option to change some of these items here. So before, when we were looking at the posting date and the due date, those were already set. Well, they're still set here, but I can change them to something else. So if I want the due date to be in August, maybe give them an extra month to get this in, we can do that as well. If you have QuickBooks, you're able to select the general ledger account that it goes into. So right here, these are all different general ledger accounts we have set up in QuickBooks. So if you do have that set up, you're able to say that these go somewhere else. So we could put these under, store purchases or store payments or anything else. Any general ledger account that you want to put those under, that's possible. You can also pick a class for these if you want to, and those can be set up separately outside of the system. The note, you can add a note here, and this will actually show up right on their PDF. So if there's something specific about this, you can put that right in there. And then there's also a note on the upper right. This will also show up on the PDF, and there's a spot in there that the text from this one will show up on. So we're going to leave those both blank for now, and we're going to turn the class off just to make it easy. And we'll say Continue. So this invoice has been created now. It's been created for Chris Vieth. For the due date is 8/20. It gives me the invoice number right here. It tells me exactly what it includes on the invoice. And I can even click right here to look at the document. And this is exactly what the invoice will come up with. Now up here on the top left, it's going to have your organization name and your address. And since this is just a training one, we don't have an address set into here. But your organization's address will pull in here. In addition, we can put your logo on the invoices too. So if you would like your logo put on the invoice and they're not already there, just let us know. We're happy to do that for you. You'll see going down the invoice, it shows the member name and their address, whatever they have set up in here. It shows you exactly what they've set up in here and what they're going to pay for non-dues wise, and then it gives them a little payment stub. The note would appear down in this area here, and there is a part up here in the top, or I'm sorry, the note would appear actually in this area here, and then up at the top, that was where the note on the top right, that would show up here if we have anything. And you can always go back and edit these later if you want to. So that's the actual invoices, and actually we can go right down here after we create it, and we can send an invoice email. It will automatically put this in here. Excuse me. It will also include the PDF attached right to the email. And then you can put in whatever custom text you want in here. And you don't even have to use this one. You can delete this completely and put in your own custom text. Now this area uses something called CK Editor. That's the editor that it uses here. With CK Editor, you're able to put in images, links, text. You can put tables in and format things however you'd like. So you can make some very cool looking emails by using this editor right here. If you're interested in knowing how to use this, we do have other trainings that go over how to use this in the Content Manager. So I suggest looking at those ones if you'd like a more in-depth one about that. And then right here, all you have to do is click the button to send right here to send the non-dues notification. And that will go to this email address right here for this member. And that pulls it right out of their member account. So you actually don't even have to know any of that offhand. All right, so we're going to close that one. And we're going to go back to the billing menu here. That's how to create a single non-dues invoice record. So if you just want to create one record at a time, you can do that this way. But let's say that I have a non-dues invoice that I want to schedule. I want it to happen over and over and over again. I want it to, every 6 months or every year, I want this thing to go to charge people. That's what the next option down here is, schedule recurring non-dues invoices. So if I click this right here, it's going to tell me if I have any set up right now, which I do not because it's a testing association. So we're going to set one up here, and we're going to schedule one. Clicking on that link, the first thing that I am presented with is a list of members. So the first thing I need to do is pick a member that I want to apply this to. So we're just going to pick this member right here. Now, I say what the description is. So we're going to call this just a non-dues invoice, but you could call this whatever you want to do. It could be ad payment, sponsorship, anything that you want. And we're going to put the price right in here. So let's say this is $20. Again, we can pick the general ledger account and the class that these are going to go into if we want to. And then we pick the frequency. So we can make this annual, once per year, or semi-annual every 6 months, quarterly, or we can even make it monthly if we want to. The iterations left, this is how many times this invoice will recur. So if you want it to recur just constantly until you tell it to stop, all you have to do is leave this blank, and it will keep going. Or if I know that I want to make this an annual one, but only for the next 3 years, and then I want it to stop. This will create the record 3 times, and then it will stop right after that. And I can even tell it when the next time I want it to create it. So let's say I want to make it today. So we'll do 06/20/2013. So if I say continue from right there, it creates it right here. It creates it for this one person. This is the description and the price that we've set up to it. This is the next date that it's going to be created. And then we can automatically, right here, if we want to create it early, we can click on Create Next. Now, it runs these at night in a batch job. It will create these. So even though I said I wanted it to run today, it's not actually going to create that until it runs a batch job. And actually, I believe that runs every hour. So we just have to wait a little while. Or we can just click on Create Next. And right there, we can go back here. And right here, the next date it's going to create it is next year from today. So then we'll know, and it's going to do it 2 more times. So that's the only times this is going to repeat. We can always go back and we can click Change. And we can change the frequency, we can change the number of iterations, we can even change the next time that this is going to be created. So you can always go back and edit these once again if you want to. And like I said, from now on when you go into the recurring non-dues invoices, you'll see everyone that you've got set up here. And as you keep adding them, they're just going to keep populating down below this one. All right, so that is the non-dues invoices. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to submit a ticket. We're happy to answer any questions you may have about the billing system. Those are all the different kinds of invoices you can create. Now I'd like to look at entering payments and how you actually enter and apply payments to invoices that have been created. Now, if somebody pays online, so if you have an online payment gateway set up, either PayPal or Authorize.net or CyberSource or any of those other ones, if a member pays their dues online, it's going to automatically record that and kick that information back into the MMS. So you don't have to worry about entering any of that information manually at all. That information will be created by itself. If, however, somebody pays with a check or a money order, the system is not going to be able to know that. So you're going to have to manually enter that payment in. And that's where this 5th option down here comes into play, the Enter Payment button. If we click that here, we get a list again of all the members. So again, I'm going to want to click a member, and I'm going to want to apply payment directly to that member. So we'll pick this one here and see if they have any open invoices. All right. This person does have invoices because it says at the very top, invoice to apply payment to, and they have actually 2 separate ones that we can charge this to. And you can pick and choose which invoice you want to pay for them. You can also enter it as a credit right here. Some people will do this if they want to offer people like a free membership or they want to credit them for some other reason. You can always mark that as a credit if you want to. The payment date, by default, it's going to pick today just because that's the day that you're in. But if not, you can apply this in the future or in the past if you want to. You can add in some notes. So a lot of people, like if it came in via money order, you can put in money order payments. And that will just denote to anybody who comes and looks at this record, oh, okay, that payment was made on this date and it was made with a money order. If they pay by check, you can actually put in the check number here so you can save it that way. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to pretend this is a check. We're just going to go that way. And then you can apply the payment amount. Now, whatever one of these you pick, it will automatically pick that payment down there, but you can enter anything that you want. So we're just going to apply it to this one for $50 right now and enter that invoice out. So if we say submit right there, it automatically applies that payment to the member, and that invoice will be marked as paid now, and it will adjust the balance on their total account. And we'll look at the individual accounts in just a little bit. But that's how to enter a one-time payment, whether by check or money order or by cash. Now, you may also run into the case where somebody will call up your organization and want to pay over the phone via credit card. As long as you have an online payment gateway set up, you're able to do that as well from the member billing system. So right here, it's the one right below that, process payment via gateway. And if you have PayPal set up, it will say process payment via PayPal, and et cetera, for whatever payment gateway you have set up. So if I click this here, again, the first thing I have to do is pick a member, so we'll pick on Vieth again. We'll get the second one down again. And this one has a lot of invoices, so I can actually pick any of these ones that I want to apply this to. And we'll just say submit. Now, I'll have to enter all of their billing information right here. So again, you'll have to have them on the phone if you're going to do this, or they'll have to be looking over it. But you can enter in all their information here, and it pulls all of this out of their member database account. And then you can enter their credit card number here, the expiration month and year, and then the CVM number on the back. And then once you click submit, this will connect with your payment gateway, whether, like I said, authorize.net or PayPal or whatever you have. It will process the payment that way, and then it will kick you back into the member billing system. And again, this is just a test one. I don't want to actually put in a credit card number here, so we're going to leave that step alone. But it's pretty self-explanatory from there on out. All right, so we'll go back to the main menu here. Oops, and back into the billing system. So that's how to enter both kinds of payments, either a cash or a check one, or one on your online payment gateway. You can also apply interest to past due accounts. Now, what this does, it's going to look at invoices that have a date either on this date or before it. So we're just going to click continue. We're going to see everybody that will pull up for this one. This pulls up all of the people who have unpaid invoices that are past due. If we want to, we can apply interest if we wanted. So we'll just say apply interest. And there's actually, we have a current interest rate at 0, so this actually isn't going to do anything here. This is, and it says right here on this little tooltip, the interest rate can be set in MMS config, member billing configuration. So this can be different for every organization. You can set up whatever interest rate you want. And then whenever you apply this one, it's going to apply that interest rate to these people who are past due. So we definitely have the ability to do that. If you have or need any help setting that up, please let us know. We're happy to help with that. Okay, so we're going to go back here and then back into the billing system. All right, so that's really the whole first section here, entering invoice records and payments. Like I said, that is by far the most important thing you're going to do in the system. And yeah, we try to make it as flexible as possible, for you to create anything that you want to right here. Now, the next step you're going to want to do, especially after you create the renewal invoice records, is you're going to want to notify your members. You're going to want to let them know that they have an invoice, how they can pay it, and you want to give them easy tools where they can actually pay it. That is where the second part, the batch printing and the send emails, comes into play. And that's these two sections right here. The way that I usually suggest to people to handle this one is to send the emails first and then do your batch printing afterwards, and you'll see why in just a moment. So if we look under the emails part, you see 3 different options at the top. Batch renewal email notifications, batch past due notifications, batch non-dues email notifications. And these are pretty self-explanatory. The batch renewal ones, these will notify everyone who has a new renewal invoice created. The past due ones, this will notify everyone who has a past due balance on their account. And the batch non-dues email notifications, these will email everyone who you have created the non-dues invoices for. So we looked at scheduling the recurring ones and entering the non-dues invoice records earlier. That's how you can send these out to people if you don't want to send them just all or one at a time. So let's look at the renewal email notifications first, since they all function very similarly, but we're just going to use this one for now. Again, you'll select the range of dates you want to send the email notifications. And in this, it's important to remember the date range that you use to create the renewal records in the first place. Because this one, while the first one looked at the date that their old invoice expired, this one looks at the date that their new invoice takes effect, and usually it's the day right after. So if you use the same exact date range, you'll almost always get the best results. So we'll go in with my one before. We'll do 12/1/2013, and we'll change this to 01/31/2014. Whoops. I hit the back button there. Okay, so we'll switch it to 2014. So now we've got our same exact 2-month date range that we used before to create the invoice records, and we're going to say submit. Now, since I didn't actually, I did renew one person here. I renewed them manually. But everyone else I did not actually create renewal invoice records for because they couldn't be created. Now normally, and again, this is just because it's a test organization, but normally the number of invoices you create and the number of emails that you send out should be exactly the same, and it tells you at the top of the page. So that's a good way to check and make sure that you're doing everything correctly. So right now, this one detects that there's 2 renewal records that it can send out between the dates that I specified. So all I would have to do to send these is just click here to send these notifications. And I'm not going to do it because it will email my boss. But that's exactly how you'll want to send these out. And that will email everybody. You can put in your custom text right up in here. And it's going to put the amount due, the date, and how much they owe. And then it's also going to give them a PDF of their invoice. Additionally, if you have an online payment gateway set up, Authorize.net or PayPal or something, it will have a link where they can go directly from the email to pay their renewal invoice right online. So they can do it directly from their email. So we try to make that as easy as possible for people. Now, we're going to go outside of the billing system just a bit so I can show you this. When members do have a renewal invoice that they need to pay, on the main menu, when they log in, normal members don't see this big administrative functions area, but they do see my membership information right here. If they have an outstanding invoice that they need to pay, there will be a link right down at the bottom here that says you need to pay this invoice, and click here to pay it. So they can easily go into the member data or into the members only area and click and pay their invoice right from there. So either there or from email, either way they can pay it just fine. All right, so we'll go back into the membership billing. So we looked at sending the emails just now. And now let's look at printing, because this is what I usually do with people. If we look at the printing one, we see almost the same options, but we get a few extra ones here. So again, we would use the same date range that we've been using all along here. To 01, or I'm sorry, we'll do 12. Oops. 01/2013 to 01/31/2014. So this will give us our date range again, the same one we've been using the whole time. You can exclude invoices marked as paid. Now, I usually just leave this one on by default, but when you're creating renewal invoice records, you should not have any that are paid yet, right when you're first creating them. But if you don't send these ones out for a little while, for like say a week or two, this one you definitely want to have marked as paid because you will have some people that will have paid them and you don't want to double send them. You can also exclude members with email addresses. And I always tell people to turn this on if you're doing both, if you're sending people emails and sending the print ones. This will ensure that the people who have email addresses, they get it in their email. The people who do not have email addresses will get the printed copies. So you can double send to everybody if you want, but this way we'll let you really just target those people who do not have email addresses in your system. You can also exclude members with monthly plans. Most people don't use this, but if you do have monthly plans set up, you can exclude them this way. You can also choose the invoice type right here. So we can do dues, renewals, non-member, or non-dues invoices. Any of these invoices right here you can totally use. And you can also sort them by zip code. This is important if you're printing mailing labels. You can have the mailing labels and the renewal invoices print off the same exact way, or in the same order, I mean. So you'll have the correct order for the members and the correct order for the mailing labels by doing this. And so we'll click Submit. No invoice records were found for the date specified. That's because we didn't create any for this time, and we excluded people who had paid ones and who had email addresses. So even though we had a couple before that were stray ones in there, they did have an email address marked in the system, so they were excluded because of this one. So this is just a good way to do this, and it will generate one big PDF with all of their invoices that you can then print right from there. And you're able to save those invoices as well and look at them anytime you want to. So that's how the printing works. You'll see here we also have the mailing labels right down here. The same exact screen, so you would just pick the same options on both sides and say Submit. Now, we're also able to do, with the printing, you can do the past dues notices and the past due mailing labels. And you'll see here, if I pull this up, we have the exact same screen again. It just pulls from a different pool of people who have past due invoices instead. So again, based on what you're doing, if you're trying to create your renewal invoice records and just send out the emails and the notices to people, you just want to stick with the renewal notices right up here. If you're coming in here, a month or two later and you want to see who's past due, that's when you'll send out these past due notices here, or you'll do the past due email notifications. And just to show you the email notifications, they look exactly the same as the other one. They all function very similarly. They will just pull people based on the status of their invoices. All right, so that's the printing and the emailing. So that's really the second big part of here. So first we've got the creating invoice records and entering payments, and then we've got the printing and the emails right here. So those are really the two biggest parts here. The third part I want to look at is the reporting, because once you have data in here, once you've started creating invoices and people have started entering payments, then you'll really want to get some reports out of here. Now, most of the time, I just suggest to people to kind of flip through these and see what they do, because they're all pretty self-explanatory. But I'm going to pull up just a few here just to highlight them. The paid and unpaid members report is a very useful one. If I click on this one here, it's going to show me all the people right now. Right now, we're viewing all of the unpaid members. You can tell that because we can't click on it. So these are people who have balances on their accounts, and you can see that one right in this column here. So all of these people on this list have past due balances on their account, and it even tells you how much the total past due amount is right here. Now again, since this is a testing organization, most of these are going to be unpaid. But you can also switch over and view the paid members. These are all the members in your organization who have $0 balances. So all of these members are up to date. They've all paid their bills. You can get a printable version of this just by clicking there, and we take away the header and the footer. And on sites that actually have big wrappers, that'll be much more noticeable. You can also click down here for a CSV version of this report, and we'll just save this real quick so you can see what it looks like. And then we'll open it. And then this is what the CSV report will look like. So you can very, very, very easily get a spreadsheet of all of your data here. So right now we're just looking at all the paid people, but we can do the same thing for the unpaid members as well and generate spreadsheets off of their data. All right, so that is the paid and unpaid members report. You can also get a new members report. This is a nice one to use. You can look between a range of dates here, and we'll see if we have any new members on here. And give it a second to load. So we do. We have a handful of people who've joined this organization. You can see what their balance is, when they joined, and you can even get some detail. This will take you to their information page. We'll look at this information page a little bit later because this is important to know how to use. But just for now, know that it exists, and you can really kind of see when your members have joined. The next one I'd like to look at is the aging report, and that's right down here. And this one's going to look a little weird on the training account, but you can kind of see what it does. What this does right here is it shows you all the people, all of your members right here in this one column, and then it shows you how much they are current on. So anybody who has a current invoice will show up in this one. So this one here, we did create this invoice before, so they do have a new invoice that they need to pay. Now, this one shows people who are 1 to 30 days past due. So if you're past due at all, you'll start showing up in these columns. So these people are 1 to 30 days past due. This person owes $12, this person owes $50, and so on. Anyone in this column, they're 31 to 60 days past due, and you can see how much they owe. This one is 61 to 90 days past due. And then the last one here is who is over 91 plus days due. So this is over 3 months past due on their account. And it will tell you what the total balance of their account is. And you can see here, for example, this person right here, they have invoices in 3 different stages. This one's between 61 and 90 days, but this one here is between 31 and 90 days. So you can really kind of see how these correlate together. And again, you can click details and go right back to this person's individual billing reports. So this is a really great way to kind of see how many of your members are current, how many are past due, and you can also catch potential problems this way. If you start seeing a whole lot of people past due, you can catch that before your organization starts not making any money from them. All right, so back out to the menu. We can do invoice reports if we want to, and these will just pull up the different PDFs that you can do. So we'll just click here, submit on this one, see if we have any. So this just shows any invoices that have been created between these days that we're looking at here. So that's just a quick little report you can run. We've got some payment reports that you can run by date. So again, it looks exactly the same here. We'll run and see if there's any payments that have been made. So these are all payments that have been made in the last 30 days, it looks like. You can see the amount. The transaction ID, anytime you see this, this means that this was an online payment, and it will capture the transaction ID. So if you ever need to go back to your payment gateway and ask questions about it, you always have the transaction ID up there. And then this one right here, this is actually the one that I added before, the Anytown agency right here. And you can see here I entered the check number as 1111, so that will pull up right here. So we can always go back and look, in our records and see what the check number actually was and if it correlates together. If you want to, you can get a CSV of this as well. You can get mailing labels, and you can even send a broadcast email out to these people if you want to right from here. All right, so that's the payment report. Let's see, what other ones are we going to look at? The member timeline report right here, this is a really useful one. I use this a whole lot. And again, it's going to look a little weird on the training association, but everyone has access to this. What this is a visual representation of how your members have joined and renewed, who is past due, who was current, and how many years they've been a member for. Anytime they have a line here, it means this was when they started, and they've been a member for these 3 years so far, it looks like. The black line means that they've paid this invoice. The red line means that it is unpaid. So you can tell right here, this first person here, they paid for their first year's invoice, but then their second year and their third year, they have not paid for those ones at all yet. You can see this person down here, they've paid for everything, but their membership does expire later this year and has not been renewed yet. This person is a new member and they've already paid their invoice. This person down here, they paid a long time ago and they haven't paid any invoices since then. So in the slashes right here, these represent what the term of the membership is. So most of these are annual, but you can see down here, this person right here is a monthly member. They're on a monthly plan, as is this person. They were actually on a yearly plan before and then switched over to a monthly plan. So this report doesn't really give you a whole lot of data, but it does give you a quick view of actually what the status of all your members are. So if you pull up this report and you see a whole lot of red like this, that's not good because that means that your members have not been paying their dues or that their dues payments have not been being recorded. So again, that's just a really good thing to look at here. All right, so we'll go back a little bit. You can get, one more thing I'd like to point out here is this unassigned payments. Now we may have some on this one. No, we do not. This is good. The unassigned payments, this should always be this screen. It should always pretty much come up blank for you. The only time that this will ever get populated is if a payment gets into the system and it's not actually assigned to a member. It's incredibly difficult for that to happen, but it does happen from time to time based on, if the payment gateway times out or if there's any error on that. It can happen from time to time. So it's a good idea just to come in and just look at this unassigned payments report once in a while and just make sure that it's counting at 0. If it's not, please just let us know and we can help you correct the error. But this will really help you find out and make sure that payments that members are making are actually getting applied to their account. So those are the reports. There's a few other ones that you can run, but again, I suggest just looking through these if you're curious. They can get you a lot of data, and you can usually pull spreadsheets out of just about any of these. The final piece I'd like to look at, so far as a recap, we've looked at creating invoice records and payments right in here. We've looked at creating batch printing of invoices and sending emails for all kinds of different invoices here. And so I'd finally like to look at exporting your data. Now there's not a whole lot to this one. It's very easy. I just want to point out that you're able to do this. You can export your invoice and payment data right here. So again, you can pick the range of dates right here. You can choose invoice and payments, invoices only, payments and credits only. You can choose the invoice and payment types, and you can choose which general ledger account you want it to come from, or you can just choose for all. And it will pull in everything that is applicable for that month, or for the date range that you specified. So it tells me here I got 19 records. I can view the export file right here, and we'll just save this and pull it up. And here we go. So here is all the payment data for between the month that I specified. So again, it pulls in invoices and payments and really whatever else you specify, whatever options you set for this, you can get that data out of there. Basically, I just wanted to highlight that you always can get data out of the system. You never have to really ask us for data. You have access to it all the time. If you have PayPal, or I'm sorry, not PayPal, if you have QuickBooks set up, you can edit your general ledger accounts right down here. So this is where all these ones are. You can set this up and create the linkage right there. If you ever have any questions about QuickBooks, please just let us know. It's a little more complicated part of the system, so usually we handle a lot of the changes for that. And then you can also edit the classes right down here. So if you want the classes to go into different things here on the non-dues invoices specifically, you can set those up right here. And that's where those are populated from. So those are the 4 main sections of member billing. Now I'd like to highlight just a few little oddball features. They don't really fit into the other ones, but they are important. Under batch printing right here, we get one option right here that says invoice/receipt verbiage config. What this does, if you click on it, it lets you edit pretty much any verbiage on any of the invoices or the emails that we send out in the billing system. Excuse me. So you can see right here, and this repeats all the way down the page. You'll have new member invoice email, new member invoice email subject. So this is the email right here. We can click here to edit it. So this is default. This is the new member email that they're going to receive. But again, you can delete this text right here, and you can add in anything that you want. Pictures, text, links, tables, anything you want right in there, and that will go into the email that they get sent. And then you can change the subject. So by default, when they get a new dues notification, this is how the email will come in. It will show up in their email inbox just like this. But you can make it say anything that you want just by replacing it right there. And then as we go down, we see the renewal invoice email subject, past due invoice email, past due invoice email subject, non-dues. We even have the statements down here. So any of these that you want to run or that you want to change the verbiage for, you can do that very easily just in here. Now, going down a little bit, we can edit some of the text on the new member PDF invoice. So this is when they first join your organization. That's the invoice that they're going to receive. And you can edit the text on the PDF invoice. So you can change that. That's when they get, or I'm sorry, on the renewal invoice. So whenever they renew, this is the invoice that they're going to receive. You can even put alternate verbiage on here for monthly invoices or quarterly invoices if you want to. So that's definitely a possibility for you. You can edit the verbiage on the past due invoices. And you can even edit the information on the payment vouchers. So that's possible from right here as well. You can edit the verbiage that they get on a receipt. So when they make a payment and they receive a receipt, you can edit what's on that verbiage or the verbiage on there. And then these last ones, these are additional lines that you can add to the PDFs. Some of the PDFs are a little finicky and we can't add stuff to everything, but this is the spot where you can add stuff to them. So you can add a couple notes on here, and then these are notes for the receipts right down here. And then finally, these are just some different options you can set up for the PDF invoices that it generates. You can hide the return address, so if you don't want your organization address on there. You can show the post date, so if you want them to see when the invoice was actually created. You can show them their term dates, so this will show them when their membership starts and ends based on this current invoice. And you can also hide the pay online caption. If you don't want them to pay online for whatever reason, you can check that and it will hide that from them. And then finally, here's a couple different more emails you can change. This is a drop notification email, so when you drop a member, you have the option to send them an email. You can click here to edit that one. And then finally, a cancel confirmation. So if a member cancels, basically self-drops themselves, gets rid of themselves from your organization, you can have them send, or have the system send them an email, and you can change the verbiage on it right here. So this is a very important page if you want to change any of the text on any of the emails or PDFs or anything. This is what you'll use here. All right. So we'll go back into the billing system. So that's just about everything. I'd finally like to look at the individual member reports here. And that's this View 1 Members Transactions right here. That's how you'll do this. So we click this. Again, it brings up a big list of all of our members. So we'll just pick one person individually. This screen right here, this will show you all of their billing transactions that have occurred. So any invoices, payments, credits, everything will show up right in here. And this includes their renewal invoices, any past due invoices, and any non-dues invoices that you create. It does not include anything from the event registration system, though. That's processed separately. So if you need to look at those ones, those are held in the event registration system. Now you'll see here, it will tell you exactly what they are. This is the date it was created, the name of the person, this is, the member you're looking at. The entry type, this is what kind of transaction it is. So INV will always stand for invoice, and it gives you the invoice number right here. And it will even tell you if the invoice has been paid. So this first one was actually paid already. And you can see right here down below it, this was a payment. This was applied to invoice number 101, which is right here. And it was for $10. So you can see right there how those correlate together. And then down here, we just have a whole bunch more invoices that have been created with no payments. And you can see they're all none of them are marked as paid. They're all for the same amount just because this person keeps getting renewed over and over and over again. And it looks like at some point either their dues went up or we changed it to a different member type. So you can sort of see the history of what this member was doing, based on what year and when their invoice was created. Now, under this action section, we can change a lot of stuff on these. If we click change on the invoice, we can change the actual dates on the invoice. We can even change their renewal terms. So say I wanted to change, the dues amount right here. I can click change right here, and I can change their dues to something else. So if I manually want to change their invoice to charge them more or less, I can do that right from here. Okay. I can also, the INV means look at the invoice, so I can actually look at the PDF invoice if I want to. So this is that invoice that they've already paid right here. So if you want to look at any of their past invoices and see exactly what they were charged for, that's how you can do it right there. Okay. And then the PD, this stands for paid. Or I'm sorry, no, this is for sending them emails. So you can send them emails right here. You can send them an invoice email, a past due email. You can actually go back and view the transactions if you want as well. So that's a good way to get in touch with them. And then you can also void out anything. And you'll see here the void link shows up for all of these except for this top invoice right here. The reason that you cannot void this invoice is because it has a payment attached to it. Now, if I were to void the payment out, that would then allow me to void the invoice. So if you ever have a situation where you need to do that, you need to get rid of an invoice and the void link is there or is not clickable, it means that that invoice has a payment attached to it and you need to delete the payment before you can delete the invoice. You can also, if you void anything, you can click this Show Voids button and it will show them down below here. We don't have any voids for this member, so let's just void something out. We'll void out this invoice. And the void reason is just that we're testing it. Okay, so now if I click on, okay, so now we've got voids. This one shows it right in here in line with the other ones, but it lets me know it was voided. So I can hide the voids now, and that one will no longer show up. So really what I wanted to point out about that is if you ever void anything out of the system, you can always still look at it and see what was there before. So if you accidentally void something, you can get it back, or you can just see a history. If a member has a history of voiding and reapplying and stuff like that, you can see that right in here. You'll also notice down here on the bottom left, we have a bunch of different options. And these are mostly the same as the functions we were looking at before, but these are all on a per member basis and just kind of quick links for this member. So you can quickly enter a payment just like we could from the other page. And you'll see here it looks exactly the same as that one does. It just takes us directly to this member's payment page. You can process a payment via the online gateway. So if you have an online system set up, you can do it from here. You can also enter a refund. Currently, this is only enabled for Authorize.net clients. So if you're interested in that and you have Authorize.net, just let us know and we can turn that on for you. You can also create a non-dues invoice, and we've already looked at how to do that, but this will create it just for this member. You can view how payments were applied. This person doesn't have a whole lot, but you can see right here, this one was applied here. And if we look at it, we can just see right here the payment, what happened here. So if you ever need to look at that and see how they were applied and where the payments came. So this payment was on this date for $10. It was applied to this invoice. If we entered any other payments, they would show up according to what invoice they were paid for. All right. You can create a statement for this member if you want to. So if your member ever comes up to you and says, hey, I would like a statement of all my billing activity for the last year, you can come in here and you can create a statement for them. You would choose the member right here, and if you do it from the menu, it automatically chooses that person. Or you can even do it for all members if you want to. You would pick the statement date, so this is when it was created, and then you would pick the begin and the end date. So this is the range of dates that it's going to pull all the transactions between. So this one would actually pull for a little over a year, and we can get the information out of that way. You can exclude people who are paid up. You can exclude monthly member plans. You can exclude members that have had no activity, and you can also exclude members without or who have email addresses if you want to. Now this will just create a statement, and we'll just do this here, of all of their activity over the last year. So right here, so all he's got right here is this invoice. No other payments or anything in the last year, so nothing's going to show up there. But it is going to show what the total balance is and how much they're overdue. So that will keep track of all of the payments and their entire account balance for you. Okay, so we'll go back a little bit here. You can also drop the member right from here. And if you want to, you can edit the member info. And if I click on this one, this will actually take us right into the member database. So if you want to go right into the member database and edit their member info from here, you can do that as well. Or you can, if you're in the member database, you can click on this member's billing info, and it will take you right back into the billing system, and you can get to it from there as well. And then one final thing, you'll notice at the top, it's got the member timelines up here. And you'll see here there's this gap here. That was because I voided that invoice a moment ago. Now if I show the voids here, I can see it right here. So that was the one that I deleted and is gone now. Finally, down here, you can actually click to create a renewal invoice record for the member right now. Now, if I try to do this, it's going to tell me that I can't because it's more than 90 days ahead. But you can do that if you have the threshold set higher, or if they're within that date and you just want to renew them quickly from here, you can do that right from their profile page. All right, and that's pretty much the gist of the member billing system. Like I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to submit a ticket. The easiest way to do that is if you go to the main menu, and up on top here is the help desk. The help desk has help files for all of the entire MMS and everything that's in it. You can search here for specific things, so we can search for billing, and click search, and it will pull up all the articles about member billing. However, if you just have a specific question or you want us to do something for you, you can click right here to submit a help request. And this will go right into our ticket system and be sent to all the developers at once. So whoever's the most well-versed in your question or in the best position to help you will be able to get back to you very quickly this way. If you ever have to contact us for anything, this is by far the way that we prefer you do it, just because it's much better than sending individual emails, because we all see the ticket system, and it also gives us a paper trail that we can all see. So it will get assigned to the person that can help you the most instead of just the person whose email you happen to have. All right. Well, like I said, that's the gist of the member billing system. Thank you for listening to the training. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to submit a ticket or contact us in any other way. Thank you.